Nice to meet you.
You as well. Thank you for sending your resume. Well, I'm glad that you've applied for the job. I have a few questions for you. Tell me about yourself.
Well, currently I'm in my last semester at Sharon College for the CYW program. In September, I'm actually going to continue my education and go to Ryerson University for their Child and Youth Care degree. Right. So also on the side, I do respite work. And from there, I actually learn a lot about myself. Creativity is key when working with this boy I work with, thinking on the spot with him as well. Oh my gosh, I totally blanked.
Don't worry about it. This is a mock, and you like you. Well, I want to check if you could edit before I'm talking. So, whatever. We've got the handshake down. You've started telling me about yourself. So think about some past job. You've mentioned a little bit about that. Suggestion: maybe not as specific about that particular boy.
Okay.
I found in my past jobs or in jobs such as that being creative without necessarily mentioning a particular client because you don't want to pigeonhole. That you're like, oh, I can be creative in respite with an autistic child or a kid in a wheelchair or this or that.
Okay.
So being able to think on your feet, be creative.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the skills and knowledge that you have that you think you could bring to our team.
Like I mentioned, definitely creativity, organization, being resourceful. I like to take my time with trying to think of activities to do with kids. So on the side, I'll do my research and big fan of Pinterest and finding fun ideas.
So generally for part of the interview, I like to give you a few situations to see how you might deal with a particular thing. So our clients are quite diverse and they're a young age, but they have significant needs and significant behaviors. So although we have 4 and 5-year-old children, they can often act and behave like much older kids that are, latency age or into their teenage years with some of the language and acting out. So when dealing with a 4-year-old that is having a meltdown and is sort of engaging you in inappropriate behaviors, inappropriate language, and you're in a public space, for example, a playground where there are other people around, how might you deal with that?
Well, depending if it's vulgar language, I would definitely remove the child away from other children just because, of course, when they hear something, then they tend to repeat possibly. So definitely removing him. And then I would use verbal de-escalation to calm the child, hopefully. Of course, just being a placement student, I'm very hands-off as much as possible. So that would be when I would get my supervisor to step in if necessary.
So tell me some of your best qualities that you're going to bring to our team.
Well, from previous experiences, I can work very well with team members, working collaboratively, and also communication-wise, whether it's me checking in through emails, I'm very punctual when it comes to that.
What you can do if you're stuck on, if you're mentally thinking oh, I got to say 10 things, really focus on 2 and elaborate. Let them sort of flower them out a little bit. Okay. That might help you. Tell me about some of your best qualities. What will you bring to our team?
That's a similar question.
It's exactly the same question. I'm giving you a chance to redo.
I know. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So definitely working collaboratively with the team from previous experiences, such as working my camp job and also the respite work that I do as well, communicating with the other support staff there. So definitely I communicate quite well with team members, and also I don't overstep boundaries as well. I could also bring just another opinion as well in just on situations. I know me just being fresh in college and what have you might bring a new perspective with different information I learned, and of course your expertise in the field as well over the years, and try to think of a solution together as well. So I like to problem solve as well and get feedback.
Beautiful. So you've mentioned that you like to collaborate with your team. Let's face it, in this big world, you're always going to find at least one teammate that perhaps is incredibly difficult to work with, perhaps even somebody that you feel like it's very challenging to get along with. In a situation like that, how have you been able to deal with that?
Well, in a previous work experience, I could relate with someone I had challenges with. Of course, I come in and I'm very polite and I'm positive, and I try to think of something that we have a common interest about to talk, if it's just trying to break the ice at first. Of course, I try to get their opinion as much as possible. And yeah, also, like, if I feel uncomfortable as well, then that's when it would be taking an opportunity to sit down with them possibly and just, I know possibly should not be in there, and just ask, just say how I'm feeling and just see if it's just more in my mind and not exactly what they're trying to convey to me as their like body language.
Nice. The fact that it's, I want to give myself a check, that it's not me, and that perhaps, that's a great answer, actually. Tell me about your worst quality.
My worst quality, I would have to say, would be doubting myself and trying to be assertive. I tend to, when making a opinion or trying to state something, I make it sound like a question, or I don't know how to use like my more authoritative voice. What do I know?
I make it sound like a question.
I make it sound like a question.
So, suggestion for that,
Yeah.
when somebody, because that is like the worst question at an interview, because you can't, like, nothing, I'm perfect. When that happens, when that comes up, and it will in some interviews sometime, mention what it is and then talk about how that has changed and the path of progress that you've been on. Because that's taking it from a, tell me about why I shouldn't employ you, because I'll tell you, there have been students here that have not gotten a placement because of that answer.
Okay.
And I mean, because you don't want to be, well, I'm never punctual. So as opposed to punctuality in the past, maybe year one of my college experience was very difficult, but I quickly came to realize that this is a very serious, serious placement, whatever, and sort of build on that and talk about basically why it's not a problem anymore. So kind of doing that little bit of a flip.
Okay.
So tell me about your worst quality or your most challenging quality.
So my most challenging quality would definitely be trying to be assertive. I found it difficult trying to connect with children in the sense of being that leader role to them. And I always tend to try to get down to their level. And then when I need to use my authority per se, it doesn't work out for me. And so I've had great leaders who actually helped me overcome that gradually through just pushing me out of my comfort zone and making me work on those skills. So now I've noticed a progress from like where I was at the beginning of a placement to where I am now. And kids are actually like listening to me. It's not taking me as long to try to get their attention when necessary. And I'm following through on it.
Perfect answer. That's why I was having trouble and why I'm not anymore, or why it's well on the road. That's, yeah.
So what qualities are you looking for for a placement student?
Definitely looking for somebody who's a self-starter, who shows some independence, some maturity, who is definitely one of the team. There are very few differences between what I do and what I expect from my students. Signing paperwork at the end of the day, and getting into any physical holdings. Above and beyond that, you're expected to do just as we do. So somebody who could be a real team player, who is able to state their thoughts and opinions about things in a way that is, respectful of all staff and all clients.
And is there any sort of training that goes along with this placement, or that we need to do ahead of time?
Yeah, all students need to have some sort of CPI type training, anything about restraint training, not as though you'd be using that, but the physical or the verbal de-escalation piece is definitely key in an environment like this. Having first aid is a definite bonus. I believe some colleges supply those things. First aid, CPR type of things. And there will be perhaps a couple of trainings that happen throughout the year that might be offered to students as well through the agency, which will be free of charge to you guys.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I hope to hear from you.